There's a moment in every woman's life where the world that she trusted just collapses. It's not because she's weak. It's not because she didn't love deeply enough. It's because someone or something that was supposed to protect her, whether it's a system, whether it's a person, they didn't.
This statement really got under my skin. It sounds so innocent on the surface. It sounds like the intent is to empower women, help them to reach a place of well being. Good things, right? But hidden within that message is one that infantilizes women, teaches them dependency, and deprives them of the empowerment that she is attempting to provide. How does she do that? Let's dig in and see. Let's have a chat. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, and especially to my patrons and channel members. I'm excited to announce that I've joined the Creator Accountability Network. CAN is a nonprofit dedicated to reducing harassment and abuse through ethical education and a system of restorative accountability. I joined because I care about the safety and well-being of my community members. If you feel my behavior or content has harmed someone, please report it to CAN, either via the reporting form on their website, creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org, or via their hotline at 617-249-4255. They'll help me make it right and avoid repeating that mistake in the future. CAN also needs volunteers from our communities to help with their work. So if you have skills you think would be helpful or time and a desire to help, please visit their website to find out how you can volunteer. Most importantly, get the word out to other creators who you think would be interested in getting credentialed. Help us build safer communities together. And speaking of building better communities, our host for today has that as her goal. But I think she's going about it the wrong way. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Rev Julie with Faithfully Driven, and welcome to my channel.
Hello, Rev Julie. Last week's host, Brian Osborne of Answers in Genesis, would have a problem with Julie having the title Rev. He would not accept a woman as a pastor or reverend, but not me. I'm fine with calling you Rev Julie. I'm Godless Granny. You can call me Granny, or Gigi, or even Kelly, my real name, if you prefer.
I want to start with Persephone's journey into the underworld.
Cool. Greek mythology is not my forte, but fortunately for me, it is one of Robin's, my son. So much so that when Robin was in high school and they covered a section on Greek mythology, Robin taught the teacher and the class some of the alternative forms of the stories in their text. My source for all of the Greek mythology in this video is my son Robin, and a video linked in the description that Robin showed me.
So there's a moment in every woman's life where the world that she trusted just collapses. It's not because she's weak. It's not because she didn't love deeply enough. It's because someone or something that was supposed to protect her, whether it's a system, whether it's a person, they didn't.
Right out of the gate, we have the reason I wanted to cover this video. This sounds good. Rev Julie wants women to feel safe. A good goal. But the issue I have is the idea that women need protection. We don't. Children need protection because they are incapable of protecting themselves. They are incapable of the reasoning required to know when they are in danger, sometimes. They lack the impulse control to keep themselves out of trouble, often, particularly in the teen years. They lack authority such that adults must deal with a number of situations for them. For example, when a teacher wrongly accuses a student of stealing something and the student denies the theft and the teacher doesn't believe him, the student now needs a parent to stand up for him. The student, in the position of not only having no authority, the teacher has in loco parentis authority, legalese for in place of a parent. Only a parent can overrule the authority of the teacher. Thus, the student cannot defend himself. He needs someone to do it for him. None of these are true of women. We are adults. We have fully functioning brains. We are capable of reasoning for ourselves and controlling our own impulses. If we fail to do so, we have no one but ourselves to blame, and we face the consequences. We do have times where we lack power and must submit to authority, such as to police or to a boss. But this is no different for men. They must submit to the same authorities. Thus, women are no more in need of protection than men. Now, women are physically weaker than men. I remember the first time I realized just how strong men can be. I was 17 and a waitress at a truck stop. A coworker came to work with bruises on her face and arms and told me that her mother had beaten her. There was a regular customer that was obsessed with this waitress, and he wanted to know what happened to her. She and I were close, and he knew that. She had asked me not to tell him. There was a booth close to the kitchen where the staff took their breaks if that booth was unoccupied. I was sitting there and having a Coke on my break. This man was somewhat large, I would guess about 5'11" and about 190 pounds. He sat down next to me and put his arm around me and asked me what happened to the other waitress. I wanted to get out of there. I was young and limber and decided to slide down under the table and crawl out. I was shocked to discover that I could not move. I could not move to the right or to the left. I could not slide down. I could not move either of my arms above my elbows. I had no idea that a person could exert that much power while looking completely natural and not hurting me at all. I was terrified. He eventually let me go when I would not answer him, but for a few moments I was completely under his control. But not really. Remember, I was only 17. I was still a child. My brain was still developing, and I still didn't think I was allowed to stand up to adults. But even with these disabilities, I could still have yelled at any point and most likely embarrassed him into letting me go before anyone could even step in to help me. But let's not do the entire video here. Let's hear what Rev Julie has to say before I go into the tools that all women, and men too, have at their disposal.
Okay, so today we're talking about Persephone's descent into the underworld. Not as a myth from a long time ago, but as a living, breathing archetype that still moves through women's bodies today. It's moving through our nervous systems. It's moving through spiritual awakening.
Sorry, I don't feel Persephone moving through my body, nor do I think I am descending into the underworld. Is there an underworld? If so, where is it? I'm guessing Rev Julie would say it's a state of being, not a place. One feels it in one's spirit. Sorry, Rev Julie, I'm not feeling it. Is my spirit broken? Anyone else feel Persephone's descent into the underworld in their spirits or their bodies? Leave a comment and let me know.
And this is one of the initiations.
Oh, it's an initiation. An initiation into what? Do I not feel it because I haven't been asked for membership into the club? If I ask for membership in the club, will I feel Persephone in my spirit or in my body?
So at some point, almost every woman is betrayed, experiences a deep betrayal, often involving a man, whether it's a partner or a father or a system or a leader, but someone that was really supposed to protect her, okay, keep her safe.
Bullshit.
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit.
Sure, women get betrayed by men, but women get betrayed by other women too. Prime example, this video. You, Rev Julie, are betraying women by feeding them the bullshit that they need protection from men. We don't. We are adults. We can protect ourselves. Women do get betrayed by men and by systems, but so do men. Women betray men. Men can be betrayed by a spouse, a partner, a mother, a system, and so on. You see, women are not unique in being vulnerable to betrayal. All people in society share this vulnerability, children more so than anyone else. What irks me is you are in a position of power. You are a spiritual advisor, and you advise women to feel that they need protection from men. This isn't empowering, it's infantilizing. You don't make women strong or safe with this advice. You make them weak, feeling they need a protector, and that protector needs to be a man. The one time in my life that I was most betrayed, it wasn't by a man. If there was a God, it would have been by said God. But because there is no God, the betrayal came from my own body. In 1984, I gave birth to a stillborn daughter. She died from a cord accident. The umbilical cord was short and it twisted shut, cutting off blood and oxygen to my unborn child. My own body is the only thing that betrayed me. The medical community betrayed me too, and you can read about that in the book that I'm writing, and I hope to finish by the fall or the end of the year. But even if the medical community had done everything right, I do not think that they could have saved my baby. My body, not a man, betrayed me. So, Rev Julie, when the worst moment comes, when the world that I had trusted collapsed, may I stand unshaken, and the cause was my own body, how do I handle that? This is May I Stand Unshaken by D'Angelo. May he rest in peace.
And when this happens, it reorganizes your nervous system. It doesn't just break your fucking heart. It reorganizes your nervous system. And it also, like I said, it initiates you.
There are no citations in the description of Rev Julie's video, and you can see there have been none on the screen. So, citation needed. On what basis do you claim that betrayal changes a person's nervous system? In what way? You speak of betrayal of women by men, but do men have the same restructuring of their nervous systems when they are betrayed by women? Is the restructuring of the nervous system the same if one is betrayed by a man as by a woman or a system or oneself? And this is the initiation? So women begin their descent into the underworld with Persephone when they experience their first major betrayal? While I gave you my biggest betrayal, my own body, my first one came when I was 5, and it came from my mother. Was I initiated into a descent into the underworld then? Or does the betrayal have to come from a man to get the initiation? You create more questions than you answer, but don't worry, I don't really care about the answers. What I care about is infantilizing women and calling it empowerment. It isn't. You are betraying women with this video.
So Persephone's journey is not just a story about loss, but it's also a story about empowerment, about sovereignty, about taking back control of your power. Now, she begins as the core.
Persephone was an eaten apple? Rev Julie means that early in the story she is called Kore. Kore is Greek for girl or maiden. She becomes Persephone after she becomes the queen of the underworld.
As the maiden. So it's springtime. She's innocent. She's naive. She is, there's trust. There's an openness, a receptivity and honesty about her that you can really feel. And from a nervous system standpoint, she primarily lives in this very ventral vagal regulation state.
I had to look that one up. I'm sure most of you already knew, but for the rest of us, the ventral vagal state is the optimal physiological state of safety, social connection, and calm. So Persephone is in a good place at the start of the story.
So she feels safe in the world. She feels safe exploring. There's almost this innocence, this naivete. She assumes benevolence on everyone's part. Her body is really open. It's relaxed. It's oriented towards connection. And this is the part of us that believes if I'm good enough, if I'm loving, if I'm kind, then nothing bad will happen.
Cool. So far, so good.
Now, this is the version of all women that is within us before the act of betrayal touches us. Before that point where we've learned that safety can be conditional, that before love, kind of had all these consequences, and before trust had a cost, right? But then it happens. Persephone is taken into the underworld. Now, in a lot of versions, her father, Zeus, actually, not only does he condone it and allow it, but he orchestrates it. He doesn't protect her. He consents to her disappearance.
Yep, in many of the versions, Zeus is the bad guy, but that's only from a modern point of view. In ancient Greece, women were still little more than property. A woman belonged to her father until she was married, and then she belonged to her husband. So Zeus orchestrating Hades to take Persephone to the underworld wasn't a kidnapping, as much as it is portrayed in many more modern versions of the story. But it was more of a arranged marriage. In fact, arranged marriages and kidnappings were portrayed very similarly in Greek art, as seen here with Paris kidnapping Helen of Troy as compared to this image of a Greek wedding ceremony. Thus, according to ancient Greek culture, the cultural context of the story, there was no betrayal. Persephone was just married off as any other young maiden would be. And she was married off to one of the most powerful of the gods at that.
And her mother is left in the dark about this. This is behind her mother's back.
True, the stories say her mother, Demeter, would not have approved. It would seem that while a girl has no say in who she will marry, her mother does.
But this is the moment where every woman recognizes this point in her bones, in her soul. The moment when you realize the man that was supposed to keep me safe, the man that was supposed to protect me, didn't.
Except that isn't what the story is about. Zeus betrayed Demeter by marrying Persephone off without consulting her. But Persephone was not betrayed. She had no say in who she married. Now, it's worth mentioning that these are myths of modern ancient Greece. The older manuscripts of the story don't have Hades even in the story. Persephone is the queen of the underworld by herself. She is the dread Persephone. The abduction story, either with Zeus arranging the abduction or the version where Hades simply decides on his own to abduct Persephone, was created as a myth to explain the changing of the seasons. Demeter, so distraught over the loss of her daughter, kills all of the plants. She's the goddess of plants. Persephone is allowed to return to Earth after she is tricked into eating pomegranate seeds. Anyone who eats the food of the underworld can never leave. She can stay on Earth for either 6 or 9 months, depending on the version of the story you have of the year. Persephone's return to Earth causes Demeter to be happy, and she grows the plants again. When it's time for Persephone to return to the underworld, Demeter again becomes distraught and the plants die again, creating the seasonal cycle. But it's also worth noting that the marriage of Persephone and Hades in Greek mythology is considered one of the best and most successful marriages. They are portrayed as a loving couple without the betrayal and affairs seen in most of the marriages of the other gods. So while there are some versions of the Persephone story that have her taken against her will, the result is a good one. Now, that doesn't mean that the ends justify the means. But considering that women didn't get a choice in who they marry in that culture in the first place, Persephone wasn't betrayed.
Just going to let that land for a second, right? Because you can feel it in your nervous system.
Nope, still not feeling anything. Maybe because I don't feel that any man that had a duty to protect me failed in that duty. I did notice that in my late teens, a lot of men seemed to feel that I needed protection. Part of that might have been my small stature. Most 12-year-olds are bigger than me. But mostly, I think that I gave off naive vibes. That makes sense. My only sex education from my parents was my dad saying, "Don't get pregnant before you get married." I was given no tools as to how to handle myself on a date. I failed in that respect with my own kids, probably because I still had nothing. Most likely this was the reason for my parents' failure too. They had nothing to give me.
From a nervous system standpoint, this represents a pivotal point in the journey. It's acute shock. It's something where your body doesn't process intellectually that level of betrayal.
If this were true, it should be a measurable change. We should be able to use a CAT scan, an MRI, or nerve conduction studies to demonstrate that when a person experiences betrayal, they have these physical changes. Where are the studies to back your claims? I'm guessing that despite her saying that there is a physical change, she doesn't mean it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rev Julie, but what you really mean is that you feel this, right? There is no physical change in one's body because of a betrayal. And if you really do mean that there is a physical change, would a person not experience that same thing for other types of loss that don't come from betrayal, such as a fire loss, a tornado, the death of a loved one? Would these not cause the same changes because of the emotional impact?
But it practices it somatically. So you feel it in your body. You could have a freeze, a collapse, like a dorsal vagal shutdown. You could experience hypervigilance, anxiety, which would be sympathetic activation of the nervous system. You can experience disassociation, where you just like leave your body. It's too much to handle, or a sudden loss in the connection that you have with your own intuition, with your own inner knowing.
That's good. These are concrete examples of what you mean, and some of them are physical. Despite you not giving us any studies to back your claims, some of these are common human experience such that we don't need studies. We have all either experienced some of these or know someone who has. But again, these feelings are not unique to women. Children and men experience these things too. They are not the result of betrayal that every woman experiences that changes her life forever. They are the life changes that occur with tragedy. Whether that tragedy comes from betrayal, natural causes, or even from one's own life choices, the result is the same. And these results are the same whether you are a man, a woman, a non-binary person, or a child. These are not experiences unique to women. Take dissociation, for example. According to the National Institute of Health, despite women being more likely to be diagnosed with a dissociative disorder, dissociative symptoms do not differ between genders. Women with dissociative disorders are more likely to seek medical help, while men with dissociative disorders are more likely to end up in jail.
And that's not weakness. This is biology responding to a threat. So these are all ways that your nervous system is trying to protect you and keep you safe.
True, these are biological responses to threats, regardless of whether the threat comes from a man, a woman, or a natural cause. And these responses are the same for men, women, and non-binary people.
The underworld is not just a place, it's actually a state of your nervous system.
That's an interesting take. There is no hell as a place. Hell is when your nervous system is trying to protect you from a threat. Shouldn't the threat be hell in the analogy, and your nervous system be the dead plants that upset the people so much that they demanded Persephone's release and got her out? And was the underworld really that bad? Persephone is portrayed as being happy there. It was everyone else that needed Persephone to come back. She didn't need to. She was fine in the underworld.
So the underworld represents, as Persephone is going down into this underworld, it represents everything that was too much for her to feel in real time.
I think we need to keep in mind that this is just an analogy. No one thinks, Rev Julie included, that Persephone was a real person with real feelings. There's nothing in the story to indicate that it was too much for Persephone. But humans do have these feelings. So what do we do with them, Rev Julie?
That's the underworld journey, right? So the betrayal, the shame, the terror, the grief, the loss of innocence. This is why I often hear a lot of women say, and I can say that in my own journey, I have felt that I don't even recognize myself anymore.
She makes a good point. These experiences do change us. Hopefully, we grow in them. A loss of innocence and naivete isn't a bad thing. While children should live in such a state, adults should not. Adults don't need protection for this reason. Often, it does take tragedy to bring one to face the terrors of this world. And for some, this comes at an early age. Some have to face this as children. That's what counselors are for, the people who help you deal with this kind of grief and loss. So the experience can be one that you get past. You may grow from it. You may not. You may develop tools to better deal with it if it happens again.
Well, of course you don't. You were initiated.
Into the underworld?
And in the underworld, Persephone doesn't just, she doesn't die. She comes back a changed woman. This act of betrayal and initiation, excuse my language, has fucked her up a little, but it's also fucking causing her to rise.
Yep, that's as it should be. It should also be noted that she didn't go seek the protection of another man. She's fine taking care of herself. She settles into the marriage with Hades and enjoys her life in both worlds. She's the only one who can travel to both worlds. She balances life with her husband and spending time with her mother, who loves her. She is loved in both worlds, and not because a man is protecting her. She isn't dependent on the protection of a man.
She goes down there. She doesn't sit in despair. She sits there long enough to really integrate this information into her body, into her inner knowing.
Yes, she becomes the queen of the underworld.
From a spiritual lens, this descent down into the underworld is the soul's confrontation with the truth.
The soul's confrontation with the truth? Can souls think? Do souls have brains? If souls don't have brains, how can they think? And if they do have brains, they aren't souls, they are bodies. I'm all for confronting the truth. That's how I arrived at the realization that there is no such thing as soul, except when it comes to food or music.
I'm going to say that again.
No need, skipping past.
Now, from a nervous system standpoint and lens, it's the slow work of reintegrating safety in your body after betrayal.
First, how does one get safety into one's body? Safety is what you have when you are safe. It doesn't go into your body. Second, a lack of safety can result from many sources, not just betrayal.
I want to talk about why betrayal by men hurts so deep, because we don't talk about this enough. So for many women, betrayal by a man doesn't just hurt emotionally, it fractures the attachment system, especially if the betrayal is mirroring any sort of father wound or issues that she might be suffering with abandonment or gaslighting, or, where we've kind of confused as women that silence equals protection.
I'm a bit confused here. She talks about betrayal by a father, but then she talks about being confused as women that silence equals protection. It seems clear she is talking about the violation of a child, but is this still going on in adulthood? That can happen, but it certainly isn't something that many women experience. Or does she mean a woman who is experiencing dealing with childhood trauma? That's a real thing. But if so, the video isn't the betrayal that every woman experiences that changes her life. Not all females experience sexual abuse. It's more like 1/3. Don't get me wrong, violence against women is a serious problem, and I am all for helping women deal with the problem. But telling women that all women go through this is inaccurate. Making this out to be an issue exclusive to women is inaccurate. Maybe that isn't what she means. Maybe she realizes that men face these issues too, and she just wants to address how women should deal with it, and that's fine. But it would be more accurate and fairer to at least comment on the fact that this problem isn't exclusive to women.
The nervous system learns connection is dangerous. My needs are too much. I'm too much. This is where we learn all these fucked up limiting beliefs. I'm alone in this.
Here I think she's wrong. The nervous system doesn't tell you that this is too much. If your nervous system shuts down because it can't handle it, yes, it shuts down. If the body can't handle it, it can't handle it. It isn't the nervous system giving you bad information that you can think your way out of with positive thoughts. If you are at this point, you need professional help, not Rev Julie.
This is why so many women become hyper-independent, badass women, emotionally guarded, chronically dysregulated in relationships, but we think of ourselves as like these badass independent women. No, that's how we've learned to protect ourselves.
I've listened to this section a couple of times, and I can't tell if she thinks this is a good thing or a bad thing. It most definitely is a good thing. We all need to be badass women in our own ways. One male trait that I have is the type of movies I like. I don't go in for romance at all. I like thrillers. Jason Statham is my favorite actor. One thing I learned from action movies is that when you are in serious danger, you use whatever is available to protect yourself. In his most recent movie, Shelter, Statham is about to die and the only thing within reach is a fork. He saves himself with a fork. And that is the key to protecting yourself. You use whatever you have available to you. I will never defeat a man in a physical fight, unless the man is 90, and even then, there's a few 90-year-old men out there that could still take me. No, I use my age and my stature to my advantage. I can chew out a man and embarrass him into good behavior. He isn't going to attack me physically because of the backlash he would face. If a man took a swing at me, a judge would throw the book at him. Or, if there's people around watching, the crowd would get him. My point is that women are not children. We protect ourselves using whatever we have, even if it's a sharp tongue. I hope that's what Rev Julie is trying to say. If she is, it isn't coming across clearly.
The underworld teaches you this truth. You cannot return to who you once were before this betrayal. You can't. Your life will never be the same.
She's right that following a traumatic experience, you cannot return to who you were before. But again, it need not be a betrayal. The same holds for any traumatic experience. The big question is, after you pick up the pieces, will your life be just as good? I'm not going to say better because that's unlikely, but it can be just as good. It will be a different kind of good, a kind that says, sometimes life sucks, but that's okay. I can handle it. And if I can't handle it, I know where I can go to get help.
You can return as someone who is more powerful.
Cool. We're on the same page here.
You will never be the same, but you can return as someone who is more powerful. So Persephone, she eats the pomegranate. Now, this is often misinterpreted as a trap, right? But spiritually, it's actually a choice she's making. She chooses to bind herself to the underworld, but on her terms. This is a moment where a woman stops becoming the victim of her own story, and she becomes the author of her boundaries, of her life, of her destiny. You see, I'm getting so excited about this because I love this story.
Okay, so we're not as far apart as I thought we were at the beginning of the video.
Now, from a nervous system standpoint, this is when the regulation starts to return because we're taking back our own power, we're taking back our own agency.
And now we divert once again. We cannot regulate our own nervous systems. We do take back our power, we do take back our own agency, but not over the inner workings of our own bodies. There are some things that we can control about our bodies, like what we put into them, how much exercise we get, and how intense that exercise is. We can regulate our rate of respiration to a certain extent, but we can't choose to stop breathing if we want to. Our bodies won't let us. We can't change how our nervous system reacts to stimuli, as Rev Julie would have us believe. If I could regulate my body the way she claims I can, I would just regulate away my aortic stenosis. But we can't do this. This is just wishful thinking.
So not because the pain's gone, but because our agency is being restored. And agency heals trauma. Yes.
I wouldn't know about that. How to heal trauma is beyond my skill set. If you need healing from trauma, seek a professional counselor. Not me and not Rev Julie.
Agency, not time, not distance, agency. Choice repairs safety. You stop asking, why? Why did this happen to me? Why me? And you start asking, who the fuck am I becoming because of this? Ooh, that is a powerful point in any woman's journey.
We are mostly on the same page here. I also have never been one for the why me question. As a believer, I always thought that everything that happened to me happened by God's choice. If something bad happened, God was trying to get my attention, trying to teach me something, trying to communicate me. The key word being trying. Of course, then, if I didn't get it, I would think that the problem was me, because that is what Christianity teaches you to think. God is perfect, so if there is a problem, the problem is you. But now that I know better, I know that if there was an omnipotent God, said God would be sufficiently effective as a communicator that he could tell me something in a way that I could understand without hurting me in the process. If a teacher thinks the only way to get through to students is to yell or get angry or, goddess forbid, to hit the students, that isn't a good teacher. And if a God must hurt a person to teach them something, the God isn't a good teacher, an effective communicator, or a loving person. I don't know if Rev Julie is a Christian or not. For all I know, she could be a reverend of something she made up. She has a website, but it doesn't offer much more about what she believes than what's on her YouTube About page. She does look quite different with her hair down, though. She says nothing about any gods, so she very well could be a secular reverend. I wonder where she got the title. Did she give it to herself? Does she feel she deserves it for graduating from the School of Hard Knocks? If so, good for her. More power to you, Rev Julie. She does weddings, too, but seems a bit expensive to me. But maybe I'm just out of touch. I haven't paid for a wedding since 2009. Is this what they cost now?
So here are some practical ways that you can move through your own descent into the underworld. All right. One, name the loss. Your nervous system speaks clarity. Speak it. It needs it. So speak it to yourself. I lost trust. I lost safety. I lost who I thought he was.
Not a bad idea. Again, I would expand it to any type of loss. Doesn't need to be the loss of trust. Doesn't need to be a man that has caused your loss.
That's grief, but naming it stabilizes the body. Slow the body down. This is number two. Slow the body down before the story. So before analyzing, regulate. Because I know that we all like to feel safe by going up here in our heads and figuring it out. But that's not what's going to restore safety right now. What's going to restore safety is your breath. Longer exhales, okay?
This is practically a foreign concept to me. One issue with me is I have always wanted to get to the next thing. I have trouble with living in the moment. This is probably good advice for me.
Hand on your heart, hand on your belly. See that? Gentle rocking or walking. That's somatic movement. Giving yourself a nice hug, some sensory on your arms. Whatever you think you need. Learn to trust yourself in the ways that you think you need support. Because you cannot think your way out of betrayal. You need to feel safe first.
Still on the same page. Remember the movie The General's Daughter? Travolta is asked, "What's worse than grape? When you find out, then you'll know everything." The answer was betrayal. Betrayal hurts, especially when it's from someone you love and trust. Rebuilding trust is hard. There's a Berenstein's Bear book about this, The Berenstein Bears and the Truth. The kids break a lamp and lie about it. Their mother is hurt. She can't trust her kids now to tell her the truth. They will have to earn back her trust. So Rev Julie isn't wrong. She just needs to expand a little. Men get betrayed too. Women betray other women. The big difference is a matter of degree. How big was the betrayal? How close was the person who betrayed you? The reason I think this important is women are not fragile things like the lamp in the storybook. We don't need protection from men. The reason this upsets me so much is this narrative that women need protection is being used to target the transgender community. Bathroom laws are passed to keep trans women out of women's bathrooms, allegedly to protect women's spaces. And if women's spaces need protection, then trans women need the same protection for their space. We need more gender-neutral restrooms, especially here in the South. Non-binary people need a space to pee, too. Men need a space to take their young girl children to pee, and women need a place to take young boys. Gender-neutral restrooms solve all of these problems. Then you don't need gender police to try to figure out who belongs in which restroom. Maybe all the restrooms should be gender-neutral. Put stalls around the urinals, or just make large restrooms with all stalls, gender-neutral. But the real target here isn't the transgender community. It's the Christian right, particularly Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, that are pushing this hard. Not because they care about where transgender women pee, but because they want to push the idea that women are in need of protection. They need men to rule over them and shield them from the ills of society. And by keeping them at home making babies, they can do just that. This is what pisses me off, pun intended. I don't need a man to protect me. What I need is a voice in this world, the right to vote, the right to protest, the right to earn my own living, the right to live my life without a man telling me what to do. I don't think Rev Julie is a far-right extremist, as I had her pegged for at the start of the video. Nonetheless, I think her way of thinking has failed to consider how she is infantilizing women when her intent is to do just the opposite. I think Rev Julie is on the right track. I suspect, but do not know for sure, that a religious background that she has departed from might be shaping the way she thinks. I don't know. Possibly she just missed this implication and needs to spell out that this isn't what she meant.
Also, I want to talk about real quick releasing the rage and the shame. Sacred rage. That's a whole other video, and we'll get to that. All right. But for right now, rage is life force energy. So shake, write uncensored letters that you'll never send. Scream, yell, cry.
Shout it out to some Canadian geese and see where they take it.
Suppressed rage keeps you in the underworld. So when you're ready to come up, let it out.
Sometimes rage is a good thing. When something outrageous is going on, like ICE agents shooting protesters that aren't threatening them, like when the White House posts a racist tweet about a former president and refuses to apologize, it's time for rage. Those things should not be tolerated.
Let it out. Claim your voice. Speak. I hold my throat chakra. All right. And then number 4, reclaim boundaries as sacred. So boundaries are not walls. They are your energetic sovereignty. This is like every no teaches your nervous system. I protect myself now. I'm in charge of me.
I'm with Rev Julie on this one. Now she sounds empowering. No male protection needed. I'm in charge of me.
Now, Persephone, like I said, she doesn't come back from the underworld as a maiden. She returns as queen of the fucking underworld.
Good take on Persephone, although I don't think anyone expected her to be broken by being married off to Hades. I don't think anyone expected her to come back. Zeus demanded Hades release her because of the pressure that he was getting for all the people who had nothing to eat because there were no plants. If Persephone didn't come back, the whole world would have ended. You could say Persephone is the savior of the world, but really it was Demeter, her mother, because it's Demeter that brings the plants back. Hades said she could go back if she hadn't eaten anything from the underworld. That was the trick of the pomegranate seeds. Because she had eaten a few, she could not go back forever.
If this journey resonates with you, you are not alone. There is a collective of women and other people who are remembering who they are together. And if you're ready to reclaim your body, your boundaries, your power.
Finally, at least she acknowledges that this is not a journey unique to women. And again, the reason this is important is that for the most part, men, women, and non-binary people have the same needs. We have the same needs for physical safety, for socialization, for trust. We all are our own persons, whether we are male, female, or somewhere in between. I think Rev Julie means well. She wants the well-being of women, but I think at times she's a bit short-sighted, resulting in her ideology being counterproductive. She's right that we all need boundaries and safety and trust and well-being. But this isn't because each of us is betrayed at some point in our lives. It's because these are basic human needs. Be well and live your life.